Welcome, Sister Mary. And you first came to Kenya 45 years ago. How have things changed and developed in the slums since you first arrived in Nairobi?
Well, during the time of President Kibaki, for about 6 years, we saw the poverty decreasing. But the rest of the time, the poverty has been increasing and increasing and increasing. And now in the last 10 years, the slums have doubled and even are beginning to treble the population because they're going double story and treble story. So these small shanty houses with no foundation, they're having a second story built on top and a third story. So they're very, very flimsy, no proper foundation, but they're still having 3 stories. So the people are twice as many and coming to be 3 times as many as they used to be.
It really is devastating the way that people are living, and I think it's so commendable all the work that you've done and continue to do. But what would you say are the daily struggles for the children within the Nairobi slums?
So the problem for them is to have food and have shelter, and then after that, education.
Yeah. And why is education so important within the slums of Nairobi, and how does that affect their futures?
Education is the ticket out of the slums, and it's the ticket out of poverty. Because if you get primary education, you're better able to do small businesses than you were without it. And if you get secondary education, you get opportunities to apply for jobs and for training. But without any education, if you're illiterate, you'll be at the bottom of the pile. You'll be the most poor and the most vulnerable. So there are many people in the slums who can't read or write. So the education is an absolute necessity for them if they're not going to be very poor and very miserable.
In 2015, you were chosen to meet Pope Francis during his trip to Kenya. What did that mean for you and all the work that you've done in Nairobi?
Well, it was very nice for me. It was kind of, somebody had recognized that I'd worked in the slums for a long time, and somebody had recognized that I had a lot of experience there. So that was it's nice to be recognized now and then. And it was lovely, actually, and it was lovely to meet him and see his interest in the poor. And it was kind of an affirmation for us. And the people from the slums who met him with me, they were delighted, because usually they're bypassed by important people who come to Nairobi. They meet the other important people. So to have a VIP coming and asking to meet slum people, that was a new experience. And it did something wonderful for them.
I was lucky enough to cross paths with you in 2019 when we first started our work with OperAffinity, bringing classical music and opera to kids that otherwise wouldn't have the opportunity to hear it. And we were so blown away by the impact and respect that you have to every single child that you come in contact with. I think people really underestimate the value of kindness and generosity and how much change even one person can make to the lives of thousands of people. With all that you've achieved, is there a particular achievement that stands out for you?
I think the fact that so many thousands of children have access to education, that's a huge achievement. And you know, if you weren't there and if those schools weren't started, they would not have access to that. And then the other achievement I'm very proud of is children who had a particular handicap. Mm-hmm. You know, they would have been locked in a room and kept at home. Now, the fact that some of them are able to access development training according to their ability, and that some few of them can actually earn their living, it's wonderful. It's amazing. Yeah. It's great to have been alive and to have lived and to have been able to enable those children to access better opportunities.
Seeing all the work that you do in so many different places within the slum area was just life-changing for me. So I'm eternally grateful for having the opportunity to just even cross paths with you.
We were delighted to have you and your friend coming to play music for us. It was a completely new opportunity, a new experience, because the children only hear a certain type of music. They hear Kenyan music, African music, hip hop, and now to hear opera and to hear classical music was you saw they were blown away. It's a completely new experience for them, and it was wonderful for me as well. It was great. So it's great that we did cross paths.
For me, the arts is also an important education tool. I may be biased, but and especially for children and younger children. On our last trip, when we were performing and making music at the Mukuru Promotion Centre, I could really see, just like you said, the eagerness of the children to learn and to establish this connection with us. And for me, as a musician, that was truly inspiring, and I think it gave them a way to express themselves and give them confidence, and also to bring them excitement and joy. How do you think the arts could fit in with education in Kenya?
Sorry, the children here are very gifted, but we lack any kind of formal teaching in music. They learn the music one from the other. Even the teachers learn one from the other, but very few have had formal training in music. So we've a gap. And with a bit more formal training in music and dance, and some of them could earn their living through music, through art, but it's very important for them. A lot of our children are traumatized. They've had parents who died, they've had accidents, they've had fires in the village, they've had floods within the village. So the children have had trauma. And this trauma can be expressed in song or dance or art, drawing and painting. And it's very important for them to have an avenue to express the trauma. And as well as expressing joy and delight, it's very important. Any kind of emotional outlet for the children is so important. And then, as I say, it can be a means of earning their living.
I think it's so important for kids to be able to express themselves, and it also brings them hope. And I think that's also very important when they have such hardships in their lives.
Yes, yeah. And it's lovely for their parents, you know. When I went to Mukuru first, the parents were all sitting on the ground, apathetic. And I was saying, what's wrong with these people? They're so poor and they're just sitting. But they hadn't got the energy to do anything. But the first time we had a concert with the children, you know, where we brought them for prize giving and where the children performed, there was a huge change in energy in the parents, because they were saying, this is my child, and my child can do this, my child can sing, my child can dance, my child can perform. So they were so astonished with how the children could perform that the parents themselves changed.
Yeah. They
got a new image of themselves. They said, if I've produced this child, I must be good too. Wow. So it's great. The first prize giving I had and concert with children had a huge transforming effect on the parents.
So lovely to see your face, Mary. Hope to see you soon.
Lovely to see you as well, and we look forward to having you again.
Me too.